In this video, we're going to be talking about object properties. As you can see, I'm just on a canvas frame and I've added a few different objects to my frame. You can get to object properties from the Objects tab and just by clicking either here on one of your objects listed or clicking on the object directly on the frame. The object properties are listed here in the Objects tab whenever you have an object selected or clicked on. Let's go through the properties. There's a few properties that are the same regardless of what type of object you have selected. So first we have the name, which you can change by clicking in here. We have the visibility, which is 1 or 0. As you can see, that little thing pops up that says 0 is invisible. And active. Active means it's responsive to events. So if you click false, then that object can't have any trigger with an event. So I usually keep my objects as true. This is especially important for buttons because if it's false, clicking on the button will not do anything. Then you can change the position and size of the objects. So we've got X and Y coordinates, width and height, and where the object's position is anchored. By default, the object is anchored by the top left corner, which means that any coordinates you put in will be applied to this corner here. You can change that and have it be anchored to the center, so now the coordinates that are put in refer to the center of the object. You can also still click and drag whenever the arrows pop up. You can also change the scaling and rotation. Rotation will just mean that it'll rotate. Scaling scales the size. You can change the border size, border color, and background color of the object. And you can change the roundness. So let's say I want to make my button a little bit more round. I can go ahead and do that. And then I can drag it around. Let's say you need a circle button. I can drag it around or manually set the X and Y and the width and height. Okay, so that's roundness. Overflow X and overflow Y start getting into the scroll property. So if you have visible scrolling on, you can see a scroll bar on the side, or you can click scroll and that'll make a scroll bar appear here. And you can set the scroll margin, which means that you can set when I zoom way out here, you can set if the scroll bar is going to change size as well. For mouse interaction, you can make the object selectable, draggable, resizable, or track the scroll, and that's for the participant, that's not for you as the user. Of course, in the editor, the objects are always selectable and draggable for you, but this would mean that the user is able to do those actions during runtime of the study. For track scroll, you can actually track where the participant has the scroll bar set. That's a new feature. And then there are some unique properties for each object that show up in the very bottom. So these properties are all the same for all objects, and then the unique ones are down here. For example, images, you can select the file that you want to put in. Same for audio, you can select the file, and we do list what types of files for each object are the best, the most compatible. For text, you can see any linked variables you've popped in there. For buttons, you can add or remove buttons and change the color and the hover color. So those are just a few objects and their properties. The main thing is these main object properties here that will stay the same for any of the elements you've added. I hope this video was helpful.